Hey everyone, we're going to be experiencing the Sleepy Hollow. So it's a legend of a headless horseman who haunted a part of a town, and it's now a legend. So first we're going to go check out the Octagon house for a tour. Wow, look at it. It's so pretty in person. I hope you guys like it. Please subscribe to my channel. And we're gonna get more tours of the Sleepy Hollow. So let's have the tour. Now, since the tour is starting, let's start.
Right, and that is also part of the restoration. A fire took it out completely in 1940s, and Joseph Lombardi rebuilt it, and now he kind of lives there. But back in the day, that was a carriage house, so that's where the servants lived.
So he lives there, but he owns it.
Yeah, no, that guy's for you right there. Yeah, no, they used to live there years ago, and if they wanted to, they could totally just go back in. When you go upstairs, you'll see some rooms that are definitely Lombardi rooms that they grew up in and things like that. The restoration itself took 40 years. It's still ongoing. So they lived in this house much like any normal person would live in their own pink domed octagon house, right? Back to the sort of the landscaping. That is an excellent question. We actually have this whole preservation tour when we talk about that. I love getting that there. But we're outside, right? So we might as well enjoy it. These plants are going to be a little interesting for the time. In sort of Victorian, the conventions of Victorian landscaping, you have a lot of native plants in your sort of gardens on your land. There'll be a time in which a lot of these things were beginning to fade, beginning to be harder to see. So this is kind of a way in which to sort of keep these things around. Joseph Steiner, though, being the oddball that he is, he's going to also acquire a lot of Eastern plants. He's traveled extensively, we know this, so he's using that as inspiration when he is decorating his house. So things like Japanese maples, for example, or a ginkgo over here. I get a kick out of this guy. I like trees. This is one of the oldest trees. They predate both bees and sharks. And if you know how old bees and sharks are, that's pretty impressive. This is like really one of the first trees. You can see some other pretty old trees. I know, right? So, I like that. This guy is also really cool.
Do you know how old this tree is?
I think this is here when the house, yeah, right? Some of these trees were here when the house was here. Some of them were replanted based off soil and root analysis. These are processes that Joseph Lombardi is doing extensively to figure out exactly what they had, here on the grounds, especially in the Octagon Garden. He really wanted to get that just in the way that it was in the period, So, again, this is sort of the science and this archaeology and things like that. It's the convergence of the two. It's cool stuff. But we're about to go inside of our first structure here, right? And while we're inside, it's definitely going to feel like we're outside. The greenhouse, absolutely a reflection of the house you see here, Those decorative motifs are going to be pretty visible, and the color, it's pink and striped, right? So it perfectly matches the house. But see that little plant on the top there and that pot? I know I'm making you guys look directly into the sun, that's my bad. But that so guy is an Eastern elk. So much like how a lot of native plants were going to be planted here, so are they kind of doing homage to a lot of native animals as well, a lot of flora and fauna. Yes.
Are we gonna go inside of the houses?
Absolutely, that'd be a huge tease if I was like, all right,
so
guys,
we're gonna go inside of here?
Oh, absolutely. You know what? Without further ado, I want to be the first one to enter the greenhouse. Right? Feel that nice humidity. I'm gonna be sweating when I'm in there. But Eastern elk is actually
so pretty. A little fountain.
Right, I'm going to be talking about that, but I need to eat it, right? Yeah, I'm glad you did. There's also another one if you want to look at it. It's right over there. Now, I can already tell I have a super observant crew. Now, the first thing we noticed even before we entered the greenhouse is who are the people who made it. This is a Lord and Burnham greenhouse. Now, a lot of the things throughout the house, Joseph Steiner made a pretty concerted effort to get a lot of American goods, For example, an aquarium is made in Mott Haven by the J.L. Mott Company. A lot of the big sinks and ironworks and things in the house were going to be made in Mott Haven. But all the furniture is also made in New York and New Orleans and Indianapolis and things like that. The greenhouse itself is no exception. This is actually the most locally sourced thing Joseph Steiner probably used when doing this house. This thing is made just right down the road, actually. If anybody got off the train, yeah, right? You know that weird big old brick factory? Yeah, that is the Lord and Burnham factory where this greenhouse was made. Anybody also eat at Red Hat? That is another part of that factory. They still have Lord and Burnham on the smokestack, which you guys can take a look. Yeah, right? And now these guys did a lot of other greenhouses, a lot bigger greenhouses also. The largest privately owned greenhouse for the J. Gould estate in Lyndhurst, which is, can't really see the greenhouse. Glass houses don't tend to last very long, so the structure is there, but the greenhouse is gone. But that is also a Lord and Burnham manufacturer. So is the New York Botanical Gardens as well. So they're pretty extensive greenhouse makers, right? And when Joseph Lombardi is redoing his greenhouse, he knows there's a greenhouse on the plot. Again, this greenhouse wasn't here. Fire took it out completely. So he got a fork in the road, right? He could do two things. He could either just make a greenhouse from scratch, which is totally within his capability, or he could find a period greenhouse from the time in which this house would be having a greenhouse, so the 1860s and 70s. He chooses the latter. He's a big fan of conservation as opposed to restoration. So he sets out to find a greenhouse. Not an easy task, right? But somehow he actually does find one in an estate sale in Philadelphia. That is this greenhouse. So he does this crazy thing where he packs it up, IKEA style, piece by piece in a truck that includes both the glass and all these funky mechanisms on it. That still work, yeah, right? I get a kick out of cranking this, so I do it really for myself. But he packs all this cool stuff into a truck and ships it here, and then he assembles it here. So this is a greenhouse from the 1870s. This is not a reconstruction or anything, just a rebuilt greenhouse from the 1860s, which is super impressive, It is also absolutely a functioning greenhouse, right? So all the plants that you're going to see here, geraniums and a lot of begonias, we've got dusty millers over here, and foxgloves, which are going to be pertinent later. So all these are used around the grounds. A lot of the plants that you're going to see in the Octagon Garden, which is our next stop, got their beginning of their life, were raised in this very functional greenhouse, right? Also just a super cool spot to read and relax and things like that. But awesome stuff right here. Feel free to take a look around, take pictures and all that stuff.
You mentioned that this one is, this plant is like, it's native. I see it like,
know what this one is, but...
It's the one on top there. Is
Oh, wait, no, I said a lot of like trees are going to be native.
Oh, okay.
They give us like a packet of every plant that's in here, but every plant is always changing all the time. I'm not actually sure what this guy is. Right? The red flowers.
I know they like
So
like
pretty.
in the streets.
Oh, okay.
This one looks like
If anybody has
slime.
that plant app that identifies stuff, this is the time for that.
I'll take a photo.
This is so pretty.
These are the dusty millers, and we plant a lot of those in the garden over there. A lot of the plants and pots are actually going to be those Easter plants, and a lot of rubber plants and things like that, some palm leaves as well.
This is the one that I'm going to bring. And I saw the plant that we got.
And cluing us into these shape-wise things that we're going to be seeing so often in our house. I mentioned when things don't come in twos, they come in eights. So of course we have an 8-sided octagonal aquarium. These guys began to take off around the 1850s. The first one was made in England. Usually what is popular in England becomes popular in the United States a little bit later, and this is one such. So this is, again, from the J.L. Mott Company, which is a lot of our other big wet metal works are going to be from. But super cool stuff. Everybody always asks, where are the fish? So I guess you can call it a fountain too. I think an aquarium is when it like fills up, technically. English has all these weird semantic rules of what makes an aquarium as opposed to a fountain. It is, I guess, technically an aquarium, but I don't know, I'm missing the fish in there. Now feel free to take a look around, but we are going to head out now. After you.
It's so pretty and windy outside. I love the garden. I love how the grass is like not too long and it's like cut.
Okay, I figured. Yeah. Okay.
Now, revival styles that were raised in the 1850s and 1870s are different ones, kind of phase in and out. And there are a few ones that didn't last so very long, but are super interesting. And I'm, of course, going to talk about Egyptian revival, again, because this is going to become pretty relevant once we go into the topmost part of the house. And this is one of those revival styles that we see quite a bit reflected in the house. So it's Renaissance revival, and actually the father of American landscaping, which we're going to talk about right now, was a Gothic revivalist as well. Now, Andrew Jackson Downing worked extensively with landscaping. He did things like the lawn for the White House and the Smithsonian grounds as well. And he's going to be a huge inspiration for how this land is divided up and how it's used. Those principles of blending an indoor and an outdoor space are going to come mostly from him. And he has a few other funky ideas about how you should use your land, one of which is that you're supposed to have a sort of triangular space that in the very typically American unit of measurement is supposed to fit a baseball diamond. Hence, we have a very large yard over here, and this would have been used for hosting people and big gatherings and things like that. But even in these big open spaces, you have these little alcoves over here that are like meant to sort of seclude people, have almost like the room to themselves, you know, while being outside. So there's that blending of an indoor and an outdoor space.
What a pretty little shed.
Yeah, right? People always get freaked out by a taxidermy cat. I think they did that there as a joke to flip you guys out. I didn't notice it until like my third tour, and it freaked me out. It's like a bomb plant or something. It's taking its head up. There's no way it's not intentional, but I like it.
Is it real?
Yeah. I suppose it was real. But yeah, no, it is real taxidermy.
But they killed it and skinned it?
Yeah. Put some artful point on it.
Cats are just my favorite.
Cats are my favorite too, right?
Yeah, I love cats better than dogs,
I'm
actually.
also kind of a cat person.
My mom and my stepdad don't like cats that much.
Greenhouse and then carriage house over there. Yeah, fire wiped all these out in the 1940s, so Joseph Lombardi's going to restore all of these. I don't actually know what they look like on the inside because, again, that's a private residence. People actually get very close to breaking and entering into that private home just because it looks so cool and charming. Those are the Lombardis. So the current historical restorationists, they live in that house over there. And you'll see them around. You know, I see Mike and Jess and all that stuff around the grounds quite frequently.
When did they turn? Was that a barn they turned into a house, or did they put a pasture?
I think they must have built it so they could have a place to stay, so the house would be free. But they built it because the restoration. They wanted to restore the entire land as it was, and these buildings were on the map when they were doing that restoration. So there's no way they were going to restore it, but what they used it for, I'm sure, was going to be in flux and things like that. Yeah.
I got a second question. So, are we gonna go through all the floors on the octagon house?
We'll go through all the floors, but not all the rooms. Some rooms simply not as interesting as others, right? I want to give you guys the coolest rooms. You know,
But all the furniture is antiques, right?
It is all antique. Not all of it is original to the house, but all of it is going to be period, so 1860s, 1870s. A lot of it's going to be cool stuff, really sometimes funky stuff, and we're going to get a lot of those revival styles in the furniture as well. They got cool upholstery too.
And how long is the tour gonna be?
Ooh, about an hour.
Okay, that's.
Right, I mean, let's see how well I do. You know, we try to keep it a little bit under an hour.
You're doing pretty good so
Thank
far.
you. This is huge appraising too from you, so thank you. Right? Now we're passing some more plants right now. We got a cucumber magnolia. There's that eastern plant that we get again. Pretty basic oak tree over here. I like talking about them just because they look quite old.
Big.
The oldest tree on if anybody's looked, actually, we have the oldest tree in the neighborhood. Is that very dramatic red one? That's kind of past the gate, just past the land. The oldest tree in the neighborhood took quite a bit of a hit recently, but it's huge and tall.
See it? See that one? That's the red tree.
But I've never gotten like close enough over there.
So tall. It's not that tall in camera, but it's really tall in person.
Now, while these trees pretty ordinary, pretty conventional for how they look. Actually, that's a pretty huge cucumber magnolia. This guy, though, is also pretty huge for its kind of nature. You know, this is a carnelian cherry tree. If you were to see this tree out in the wild, you'd probably see it yay high, shrub length. They don't usually get this big. As you can see, this guy did not get the memo on that. This is probably one of the biggest carnelian cherry trees in the area. They don't usually get that big, so I just have to mention it, have to give him some recognition, because he also is pretty full, and it puts on some nice color during the season, so we got to thank him. But kind of on the opposite end, while that is a very non-lazy, active tree, we got a pretty lazy tree over here. This guy is a Kentucky coffee tree. He is the last to get his leaves and the first to drop them, so he clearly likes sleeping a lot more than doing tree things. But I also get a kick out of them because they have a bean that looks remarkably like coffee. So when early settlers came to this area, the trade routes were not quite so solidified, and they wanted coffee or drink like coffee. They saw the beans that looked something like coffee, right? And they began to brew it into coffee. The problem with this is, of course, it is highly toxic and does not taste good. Yeah, Native Americans have been using this tree extensively for hundreds of years for fishing. If you put it into the water, you grind it up, put it in the water, it knocks the fish out. That sounds like something you might not want to drink. It isn't. Yeah, right, done. So the second they actually got those trade routes down so they could have actual coffee, they stopped using the Kentucky coffee tree. But these things are native all around Appalachia. a little bit out of its range, but super interesting. This is a male too. We have a female on the other side of the house, so there's that symmetry again, you know?
So that tree is like they use it like it's like a tranquilizing tree.
I mean, for the fish, yeah. For them, maybe accidentally a tranquilizer, but yeah, super toxic. Would not recommend it. And he's a sleepy guy, but it's pretty big too, right? We used to have one of an equal size, the female over there, but actually fell pretty recently during a storm. Luckily, we missed the house. It fell in the other
I was
direction.
just going to ask you, is there a risk of this falling
Oh
onto
yeah,
the
I mean
house?
that's a constant risk, and it's actually surprising once I go into the house. I'll tell you this. Actually, I'll tell you now. That like 90% of the regular glass on the outside is original, which is remarkable when you
Yeah, no
consider how
kidding.
many hurricanes
Yeah.
and storms and things blow through this area. That 90% of the outside glass is original. But yeah, trees do fall in the house sometimes.
Imagine if that thing fell and then it destroyed the whole entire house. and
Yeah,
then,
right. I'd
like-
be out of a job, so I don't want to imagine. But yeah, no, that's something the Lombardi.
My head will be a volcano.
Yeah.
It'd be like.
All right. There's a personification of summer over there. You see her sheaves of wheat. Our winter on the other side has a cloak and a cauldron and very, very cool. But we are going to go into the octagon garden, the foxglove garden as well, right? Because, you know, when we look at the house, he's a pretty funny guy, right? He likes these things, right? He starts with the garden out.
Ooh. Now we're entering the garden. It's gonna look pretty, I guess. Pretty.
Connotation could be a little bit different, but it is kind of, yeah, right? There's a kind of brush over there. But
What did Joseph Steiner do again?
he was a tea merchant.
This is
A
so
lot of money in
cool.
tea.
Yeah.
Back then.
A lot
He
of
had
money.
something like 76 stores throughout the Manhattan area. As you guys have entered the Foxglove Garden, you kind of feel like we're a little bit inside, right? We're surrounded by walls. During this time of day, there's not a whole lot of shade, but there's areas to sit, there's statuary and things like that. And while you guys enter the house, you'll actually look on our carpets. There's a lot of floral carpets. This is intentional. This is supposed to mimic the floral carpets that we're going to find a lot of times inside the house. We got begonias, those dusty millers that began in our greenhouse, and the foxgloves themselves in the middle over there. So got rose bushes and things like that, a privet hedge, and 4 junipers surrounding us right over there. I like the stickers on your phone too.
Thanks. So all these plants were trimmed by just bare hands or by the trimmer things, garden trimmers.
Probably the dudes got the trimmer things
Yeah.
and the electric hedges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if they want to do that really minute work, I'm sure they got the surgical, like, you know, the big old shears and the
Yeah,
scalpels and
the
whatnot.
garden shears.
Yeah, right? But no, they are pretty precise. There are people doing work on the house all the time,
This is
painting
so
things. I'm
pretty.
glad you noticed the weather vane. There's that Eastern Elf.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of funny. Oh, yeah, right? We do have people on the roof doing the slates, repainting the pinstripes on the veranda and things like that. A whole lot of work.
Like when you see from here, there's not that much of veins, but when you look
Yeah.
at the front, there's like 1,000 of them, and you can't even count it.
Yeah, right? I mean, I'm sure somebody has tried to count them. There's some weird things that people try to count in this house that I'm always impressed that they do.
Why was the dome not such a great idea?
You'll see in a second. But
Okay.
yeah, right? 2 extra floors onto a house that's not ready for it is the big one. Also, Joseph Stein, he moved a lot of the orientations on the first floor of the room around, so you're knocking down load-bearing walls.
Oh.
Yeah, right? We think his architect was more of a designer than an architect, so he's like, let's put a dome on the house.
It's not that it's a bad idea, it's just that it was done poorly.
That is more closely. Yeah. Because yeah, you really go nuts.
Look at the fountain. It's like pretty, and then when you look at the bottom, it's like all dirty. I love the decorations and all the statues. So pretty. Gate, garden. Mama, how do you say this place is? Amazing, surprising, excellent, or it's gonna be amazing in my YouTube video?
All of the above.
Okay.
You're gonna run out of memory on your phone.
Hello. All right. Are we all relaxing? Yes, we're using this space exactly as it was used back in the day. You know, just sitting and relaxing and enjoying our fountain. This is another JL product, by the way. Our fountain just got a new fresh coat of paint also.
Yeah, but it's all dirty at the bottom with
Yeah,
weeds
right.
and ugh.
Right, and the spray is kind of far, so it gets a big old puddle over here also.
Is the water circulating all the time? Like, is it the same water circulating?
That's actually a great question. I don't know. I'm gonna guess. Well, actually, I don't think it can be, considering how much water is lost on all this splash. I'm sure it comes up from like a pump or something, right? That's a great question. Nobody's ever asked that to me before.
Did you? You should put fish in here and clean up all the leaves
I'm
in
waiting
there.
for tiny fish to be in the aquarium. I'm just waiting. One day. Or at least like a little plant or something.
So are we now gonna explore the whole entire house?
Yes, we're gonna go into the veranda first. So that nice wraparound porch, and then we're gonna go inside the house.
Oh, okay. The front porch.
Yes.
Actually, the around porch.
Yeah, right? So I guess it is a front porch. But depending on which way you go.
This is so pretty. Leaves falling. Not on. I got a question. What's down there? Oh.
Well, we're going to get excellent examples of that. And yes, that dog, he has a name.
Prince?
Yes, yeah, right. It's on the comic.
Did the owner of this place ever have any pets?
That's an excellent question, and I'm glad you asked. We were just looking at him right now. We deciphered his name too. This is one of his pets. He had many pets. He had horses and other dogs and things like that.
No,
but-
like pets for jobs, like dogs, cats, like cats for catching mice, rats, dogs for like warding off all the
Right, he definitely
other
had
foxes.
dogs. It was one of the things that
coyotes.
people bred, of the class and time, people had hunting dogs and things like that. He had horses for his carriage. This is his show dog, though. So while you're talking about a dog with a function, this dog's function is to be pretty and cool. And pretty and cool he certainly was. He's a white English Terrier. He's actually pretty significant. If you guys go to the Dog Museum in New York, and it is apparently a thing, Prince will be there. He's a pretty famous dog. He's a white English Terrier, so an extinct breed of dog. And it's funny, people always ask us, well where is the information? How do you acquire a lot of this information? And of course, a lot of archive work and things like that. And sometimes sources will just not come up. We have more pictures and illustrations of Prince than we do of Joseph Stalin.
There's some princes over here.
Sometimes around this veranda, you go to the Dog Museum and read about it and things like that. You have one picture of Joseph Stalin. So yeah, right? It's kind of interesting what we're missing and what we have. Oh yeah, right. That's proportionate.
If you see right here, you might not, but it says Prince.
He's also surrounded by ivy and cast iron.
Look at this leaf. I thought it was real. If it was real, that would be very pretty.
It's a real plant, but it feels like rubber, so they call it rubber.
Oh, I thought it was fake, but it's real. After all.
Yes, right. You noticed the irises growing in our garden over there, and we have those rose bushes as well. You know that they did have irises and rose bushes grown here at the time, and we see them in the capitals of our columns. So it's how they know that they were here in the garden, why they planted them there. They also lilies. We haven't done lilies. I think the deer keep on eating them. So yeah, right. We're pending on the lilies. But,
Question.
yes.
What are those blinds for?
Just to give us shade, if you're sitting out here and it's sunny and you don't want to be sweating and things like that, and maybe you don't want to get too tan, you just lower the shades and things like that. And it does give this place a really nice enclosed kind of vibe.
This is so pretty. I wish I lived here if it wasn't haunted.
If it wasn't haunted, hey. Who said anything about a ghost in here? Actually, I am the ghost. I died 100 years ago. All right. right? Everybody always gets a kick out of the swing seat, so this is where I read on my break. But we're passing some more trees, a lot of the eastern trees that I'm going to mention before. We got a pagoda tree over there, named so. They grow often in Buddhist temples. That one over there. These two, I believe, are tulip trees. But those guys are nowhere near my favorite tree on the property. My favorite, probably two trees on the property. One of is this guy over here. I mentioned that ginkgo's pretty old tree, predating a lot of the animals we associate with plants and pollinators and things like that. This guy is also, pretty old. It's the largest leaves and flowers of any native plant on the continent. So it's appropriately named a big leaf magnolia. They were very apt in their description of this plant.
Ginkgo was actually a prehistoric tree in the back times.
Right.
Like when dinosaurs exist.
Yeah, right. Same with this guy. Actually, you see why its leaves are so large? It's because larger things back then were eating this guy.
Wow, like Brachiosaurus.
Exactly, right? And if
like,
I was a Brachiosaurus, I would totally eat this guy too.
Or maybe a Diplodocus would maybe not be able to reach this because they're like giant.
Yeah, well, I imagine they grew even bigger.
They're like this. They're like twice the size of this whole entire mansion.
Right? Now, well, this guy is very likely original to the house. This guy is a gift. It just goes with the house so well that they had to give it to us. It is a cherry blossom. If you guys came here maybe
But
2.5 weeks ago.
where's the pink on it?
Exactly, right? That is the big question. It gave us a bit of pink like 2.5 weeks ago. It was very, very full. Kind of went with the house.
Whoa! Is that a maple tree?
It is, yes. It's 2 Japanese maple trees. And we have a hydrangea too. That guy, although it's not original, gotta be pretty old. It is about 100 years old. Not a lot of us see hydrangeas as trees.
Are
so they have to be
these
significant in age.
are these old statues and
Yeah, this is a bunch of old. So this is for a different tour. So I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty. This is for the preservation tour. But you guys do get to see. Oh, my bad. Sort of the state that the house was in previously. Right. So yeah, definitely different looking thing. Joseph Lombardi had his work cut out for him. And if you guys want to know more about that, the preservation tour is one of my favorite tours to give, and I totally recommend you guys do it. But that's some shameless product placement, of course I'm going to say that. Now, we're about to go in the house. Before we do, take a mental picture of what it feels like out here, because we're going to see a lot of these things reflected on the inside of the house, Now, before we do, all the typical stuff you guys probably saw coming, right? Try not to touch anything or lick the walls or anything like that. I've already licked all the walls. They don't taste right now. Take as many pictures as you want or videos. Just no flash, and totally ask me as many questions as you want. I also don't got to worry about that. Right now, who would like to ring the doorbell? Yeah, right? I love seeing how people interact with this guy right here. Our modern day doorbells, you press them, you actually pull this guy out though. Ah, what a wonderful, whimsical Victorian sound. I have a really low threshold for being impressed. This is an actual doorbell, so there's just a bell on the other side of this that rings.
That's so cool.
Right? Whole lot of super ingenious design mechanisms in this house. There are cisterns that collect rainwater and things like that. And there are also strings attached to bells that are doorbells. So, pretty simple. Yeah, that's a cool one here too, thank you.
this is so pretty.
It is. That is the exact reaction you're supposed to have in your foyer.
I literally want to live here.
Me too.
Please don't sit on the chairs. What a beautiful dining table. Literally have to live here.
Why we in an octagon house to begin with. And the other question is, why we got these funky heads working in some odd corners of the house, right? Goes back to this guy, Orson Squire Fowler. He wrote the book on octagon houses. He wrote this 200-page kind of architectural treatise. Well, everybody should live in an octagon house. So you got 8 sides, more sides to put windows on. Ventilation was thought of to be better. Bad air was something Victorians were very concerned about. That being said, he was not an architect. I know, right? Kind of crazy. He wrote this big old book. He was a phrenologist. And does anybody know what phrenology is?
Science of head shapes.
Yeah, right. The science is in quotes.
Yeah.
Super debunked pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he felt up the heads of rich and famous people and conferred their characters. So if your humor bump was underdeveloped, he'd be like maybe B failure. He actually, yeah, you're right. No, he called
Smart.
Mark Twain's
Makes a lot
humor
of
book
sense.
was severely underdeveloped, and he kind of prescribed more humor in his life. Yeah, it shows you what he knows. Yeah.
So we're going to be going down the basement over
Yes.
there and upstairs.
Yes. Right. We're gonna be
So
going
what
upstairs
first?
Upstairs
Okay.
first. Well, actually, on this floor first. This is the most posh floor of the house.
Right.
So yeah, it's only right to check it out, right?
I got a question. What the heck is this
That is
thing?
a wall pocket, and of course we got our Eastern elk on it as well. But there's not a lot of shelf space in this house, so putting mail and books and newspapers that you're reading in this guy, yeah, perfect thing for that, right? And you can see a few other of these wall pockets as well. Now, right, the floral motifs, they follow us immediately into the first room of the house. On our carpets, we already got flowers. On our etched glass, we got 8-petaled flowers as well. And not only is the house decorated to be sort of a homage to all these botanical motifs, but there's a lot of careful attention to the lighting of the house.
Let me guess. This is the timeout chair.
That is the timeout chair. It's also a secret compartment timeout chair. Yeah, we hide some stuff in here. Actually, would you like to do a scavenger hunt? Because I feel like you would really kill a scavenger hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? Already? It's like counting octagons and Eastern elk and things like that, and there's no shortage of either. But, right, so a lot of reflective paints on this room over here. It's meant to do that. It's meant to sort of reflect that natural light. Also, yeah, right?
Hangings, flowers.
I'm glad you noticed, right?
So cool.
And we get some other ones in the gasolier over there as well, so they definitely putting a lot of botanical motifs on a whole bunch of stuff. All the gasoliers in the house are also original. So this is what they would have had back in the day. Would have been
So this one with the
flame.
hands is original?
Yes, that one is my favorite too, right? We have made it a magnet because we liked it so much. But so all the gasoliers and all the things you can see, those are original. But because, open flames, gas-powered things that don't smell very nice and not very bright even when you turn them on, there's going to be a lot of attention to detail around the natural lighting of this house as well.
How did they make that effect on the ceiling? The silver?
Oh, it's silver leaf. So yeah, it is silver paint. Actually, there's 4 metals going on the ceiling. There's silver. Yeah.
I'm seeing something on the roof. When you sit back here, you could see some kind of circle.
Oh, it might be from the etched glass or from
Reflection.
Yeah, right, the reflection in the light. Because sometimes in a certain time of day, the etched glass, the light will come in through the atrium over there, and it'll kind of cast a.
Yeah, I
huge shadow, right?
kind of see me. It's reflected. It's like those orange circles,
Very
whatever.
observant though, yeah, right. So we got what is that? Silver leaf. We have gold over there. That copper, and then that big band is actually aluminum. Very lustrous metal. The Victorians quite liked. It used to be a lot more valuable back in the day. The cap of the Washington Monument is also aluminum.
Now we'll go upstairs, or
Well, we're gonna go to the salon, then we're gonna go to the dining room, and then we're gonna go upstairs.
I already saw this place and the dining room.
Yeah, right? There's so much to see.
What about this room? Why are we not allowed to get into?
Just because it would make the tour too long, but that is the library. Also, cool gasolier. But these weird corner rooms are perhaps why Octagon houses never quite took off. It's really hard to furnish a room like that with those sharp corners.
We were just thinking about that.
Yeah,
How
right?
do you?
And you can tell they kind of struggle with some of the ones.
And is this some kind of
The carpet feels amazing.
what is?
It's probably new.
Right? And then, this one is not from the period. It's also made from the same company that Joseph Steiner had his carpet sourced from, and it's all from the same designs. That he
So
had.
what-
This is one with catalogs and stuff.
Question: what is
Actually,
this
It's one of
room?
the few things that isn't. This is a tea room,
Oh,
right? So they would have been serving tea. It's perfect thing to have right next to your salon, right? So you bring tea in here. Yeah, exactly. Right now, your octagon-shaped tea set, no less. Right? Well, these are all Wilton carpets, though. So they're actually one of the few things in the house that aren't made in America, not an American product. We never specifically asked for a Wilton carpet in the house.
And so where are they?
England.
this dining room is so pretty. Let me guess. Bathroom. Or no, kitchen. Kitchen.
Well, Paul Armour, we don't really know much about his house. We have no pictures of his house from pre-dome. But Joseph Steiner, we do know that this is approximately the paint that he had. That's a great preservation floor question. But Joseph Lamar, you see like painted houses on the walls, on the ceilings. You do a whole process called technology where you sort of take a sample of the paint, you kind of strip it. The whole house actually has been whitewashed previously, so they strip that first and then do this process. But this is the colors pretty close that they would have back then. They do this design This is definitely an homage to that. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if that one itself is.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
Right? Now, before we leave the salon, it is cool to note the paintings we have on the walls over here. Hannah Scott, an avid collector of local art. I'm being the local person that I am. It's super interesting
The
to
old
see,
mill
you know,
is like
my surroundings portrayed in pretty old art.
Yeah, it's
Sleepy Hollow over
Sleepy
here is
Hollow
kinda
right in
broken,
it.
So it's crazy to see it portrayed in the Dutch church over there. It's significantly lower, so. Right? And you also get to see a Tappan Zee Bridge. But this is going to be pretty pertinent when we go upstairs to the carry-out room. We've got maybe more modern art installation going on. Right, whenever we're ready, we're going. Yeah, right. There's Tappan Zee.
Let's meet them at the dining room.
Hello. I know this is a fun room to be in.
It's so pretty though.
It is.
And the kitchen is like not that decorated, but it's like I can't believe that how the sinks look like that.
Yeah, right. Copper sink. Pretty unconventional. It is.
Yes.
The plates are.
And of course they are, right? And they got all these floral motifs and the berries and things like that, symbolic of bounty and fruitfulness. Now, yeah, right? The first thing everybody looks at when they enter the dining room is, of course, the table, right? You got it, you know? And the second thing they immediately notice is how much silverware the Victorian person is working with for their meals. Yeah, right? These things are usually do a very specific function for a meal. Usually do it about once and then are taken back to be washed. And then, yes.
This all was made out of sand, because to make glass you use
Yes,
sand.
right? Actually, it's from Boston Sandwich Company. So they made pressed crystal. Right, and I know they have a pretty good sand over there too. If you guys are going like Cape Cod or something, you pass where this is made.
Oh, I didn't see. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Now, all of this silverware is Reed and Barton silver. It's all in the Roman centurion medallion style. So you get all these little guys. Each of them might be a little bit different, but there's a good reason for that. We do know that Reed and Barton silverware was in the house during the Steiner time. Joseph Lombardi, he found a single piece of Reed and Barton silverware in the bottom of the dumbwaiter over there. He was able to replicate the entire order several times over. More impressively, this is all from the same year, too. So this is all from 1871. Yeah, this is pre-internet, too. So you imagine he was writing a lot of mail to figure out the people who have these things and, you know, trying to get them back, auction deals and antique deals and things like that. Yeah, right. He's definitely, he's got it.
Especially back
Yeah,
then, write a
yeah.
letter,
Yeah.
hope to hear back.
Right.
What's the black thing?
That is for ventilation. It literally goes into the next room. So, right? The vents that you see at the top here are going to be for ventilation. The one you see in the bottom are going to be for heating. And it's pretty good. You want to kind of pull that coal gas and probably a lot of cigar smoke also out of the room that you're in. Yeah, right? Yeah.
So funny, it's like blowing into that room.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Go into the pantry over there where we have our food.
Right.
Now, well, I have two more things before we leave. Firstly, of course, we have flowers on our carpets. It's an easy low-hanging fruit, so I have to. But lighting. I was talking a lot about the careful attention to detail about lighting, and this is the best room to talk about that because we have a west-facing window over here, and this is very intentional. I mentioned how Joseph Steiner, he moved around a lot of the orientations on the first floor of the house around. So we don't think this was Paul Armour's dining room, but we do think it was Joseph Steiner's. And he had this orientation on the window for a good reason. When he would have been eating dinner here, the sun would have been setting below the Palisades. All this would have been cleared to pasture, so he would have been able to see the river. It's only about 2,000 feet away. So when they would have been eating dinner here, it would have bathed this room in a lovely red glow, right? And that was the intention. Get that copper inlay on the top of the ceiling over there is to reflect that red light.
So there were you don't think there were like trees here?
No, there weren't. This was actually farmland.
And no houses, obviously, all the way down to the river?
Pretty not much. I mean, it would have been on a hill more
Right,
now.
right.
And there were neighbors, actually Hamiltons were one of them, of that fame. Yeah, right? That's where they purchased a bit of the acreage.
The one from the Broadway musical?
Yes, that one exactly.
Oh, okay.
Not from American history. All right, we're going to head upstairs now.
The rapping Hamilton?
Yes, right, that one specifically. Right, we're going to ascend our first flight of stairs.
Is the place haunted? Like, were there any sightings or anything?
Yeah, that's a
happening
tricky question. Now, the Lombardis, and this is totally come back on the Halloween show if you want the real nitty-gritty, but the Lombardis certainly think there is a specter and a spirit. We talk about certain, like happenings and things like that. I've never seen anything, and the happenings that we do talk about, they're not like, our mirrors were one day covered in blood and, there was a dead person on the floor or something. It's more mild, so we don't think it's haunted, but mildly haunted. Haunted in the way any 160-year-old structure. All right, now I love this
Did you
room.
see the one downstairs that was made that had hands?
Yeah.
Right? If you like this gasolier more than that, I respect it, because this one is the most dangerous gasolier in the house, right? Pretty unconventional, even for this period. This is the only gasolier that's actually extendable in the house. So this part raises and lowers. Yeah, tall people with perhaps a feather in your cap or something like that probably got lit on fire. This was something people were actually afraid of. Yeah.
I walked into this
Yeah,
room.
you
and
think,
the
oh
whole
yeah,
time
right,
was
that's a crazy
gas
thing to
lamp,
immediately
so
walk
gas
into.
lamp.
Yeah, anyway, dangerous gasolier, extendable, open flames too, so yeah, not the safest stuff. But
So, question. So this room is pretty much like a lounge room.
exactly, yes.
It's like a relaxing room.
Sitting room, huh?
Yeah, right. But this is really for the family, you know. So while the salon might be the sitting room for the guests, this is where the people who own the house
Bathroom.
each other's company. Maybe
Shower,
dress in more
sink.
comfortable attire. They read, they
It's
write, they
Ooh.
sew, they
These lamps.
enjoy
That's
each other,
cool.
you know.
Just snuff it out.
What is this?
See, that's a beautiful That's a great question.
I
do like a
Extinguisher.
this
Maybe it's to keep it from the flame from going too high.
Yeah, right. We do actually have a lot of folding chairs, not in this room, but a Hunzinger chair. One of the first people to patent a folding chair. Looked a little something actually like that guy. That's a Hunzinger right there. And it does actually fold as well. So yeah.
What are these little hoods on all the lamps?
It's just to keep the smoke in probably in more single ear spots that doesn't go everywhere. Yeah, right. The only thing that's actually keeping the gas fumes inside the thing is like a little wax cap. So you imagine, that thing melted, maybe got too sticky and things like that. Yeah.
Is
Dangerous.
Yes,
So
right.
that time
It's
catch
the
on
need for
fire.
all this natural light, right?
is this one of the bedroom?
It is the bedroom, the primary bedroom.
Wait, this is only one bedroom? There's supposed to be
Yeah,
like
this is
5,000.
all the bedrooms on this floor are, bedrooms. And it's actually pretty unconventional. If you guys go on a lot of Victorian house tours, the fact that everybody sleeps on the same floor of the house is pretty unusual. You go like the Down Abbey tour or something like that. The people are sequestered off into their own wing of the house, the children usually. So it points to a positive family dynamic.
Is this a closet?
It's yes, it is a closet. We don't usually go in there. There's not a whole lot going on in there, but it's cool doorknob on there. Now, before we go, I do want to point out the ceiling. And we got all these natural motifs. We got swallows and dragonflies and roses and things like that. But this one is impressive for the house because it is the oldest piece of art that we have. This is from Paul Armour's house, and I mentioned how few things we have in there.
Mama, look.
How,
Mama, look how creepy this doll is over there. Come on.
This is a pre-Civil War motif. It's called rope and ribbon. You see the rope and ribbon?
So creepy. What kind of doll is that? That doll over there just jump scared me.
Yeah, right.
It's
We have a
like-
lot of fun with that. That
gives
room
me the
specifically
creeps.
and Halloween. All right. How am I doing on time?
It's
13.
All right, we got time.
it's been 42 minutes of the tour.
All right.
Looks exactly like that.
Yeah, right. More than Winkle.
Oh.
Oh, you know what you're talking about? Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah, he's working with some pretty
Did you see
odd
the
corners
animals
of
on the
house.
light?
Right?
What?
Now you guys are entering, as we figured out, the primary
Oh,
bedroom
I
of the
didn't
house.
know
Oh, yeah,
this.
you're gonna like this. That Eastern, he's in the house a whole bunch of times, right? Saw him on the weather vane, saw him in the greenhouse. He's in this room something like times. Yeah, right? In this one room alone, he's 20 Eastern elks. There's about 8 in this gasolier alone. I can usually get to about 18 and then I stop counting. So maybe a dozen times.
It says exit there.
Yeah, right, I tell people
Creepy
that
doll.
really sucks.
That's what you're gonna be sleeping with tonight, Derek.
That is him. That is the guy himself. You want to put a face in
You're gonna be sleeping in that bed with that creepy doll. You're gonna be a baby in the old 80s and 90s.
Is that the guy that lives over there?
No, this is the guy that lives. Oh yeah, in the.
In the carriage.
He's in coaching on Mike Lombardi, who does
Why is
the restoration for the house.
This kid.
Why is this so blurry?
Michael Lombardi lives in the carriage house. He's the one that does the restoration. This is the guy that owns that.
Yes, and he also did the restoration, but while he's away doing other stuff, yeah, Mike Lombardi.
So is that his profession? Is his
Professional restoration. Yeah, right. Pretty impressive. He has something like 5 homes or 4 homes now. He used to have 5 homes. One of them was a French chateau. Yeah, he's not good at that he works with. He restored a French castle. He sold it to private use, but he sold it to the museum. Now, before we leave this room, there's certainly a lot of cool stuff in here. I do like the furniture in here. All this painted work really drives home for the pastoral feeling of it. And I mentioned a lot of this duality that you see in the decorative things. We have two seasonal elk on our freezer. We've got a winter elk and a winter coat and a nice summer elk. Right. I can talk a little longer in this room, but there are cooler rooms we're about to enter, and I really want to take you guys in there. So, yeah, right? Now we're going into some cool rooms. I think you're going to like the next one we go to. Yeah, nobody found 20 Eastern elk, right? Yeah, right, last stairs.
Wait, are we gonna go enter into the attic?
Sadly not. The tippy top of the house, I'll explain later, but the fire department would have our head. But we are going to enter this room. It's certainly got a lot more going on.
Is that Jello?
It is supposed to be Jello, yes.
Oh, but it's decorated.
Yeah, right?
So they put real life bugs in here?
These are actually, real bugs. I wouldn't touch them. They might be poisonous. But, yeah, right? I wouldn't touch the whole thing. It's probably not good for you. But it is cool, though. It does supposed to look like Jello and all these cool
So
confections.
they eat butterflies, ticks, cockroaches, moths?
Apparently. Now, yeah, I know, right? Immediately, what is contemporary art doing in our painfully restored octagon house? This is an art exhibit, kind of in the mobile.
It's like a bug room.
It is, yeah, right. Victorians love their butterflies, so they were conflated to the soul. But this is an active art exhibit. All this artwork is by Dana Sherwood. It's kind of like a take on the complex confectionery treats that Victorians were enjoying at the time. Of course, if you look a little closer, not too close, you'll see there's some stuff stuck on it. I'm not going to interpret it for you, but it's certainly quite cool.
What's inside of it? Is that...
It's supposed to be like resin,
Oh.
right? So it's like in a cast. But it does look like Jello.
Is that a skinned beaver?
Yeah, it's like a gopher or something. Now, curio rooms were pretty popular back in the day. As travel and trade became easier and more accessible, people would come going further afield. And this was the room they had to store their trinkets. Perhaps all in there
Another
if they
disgusting
let them
Jello
take
thing?
one piece of
Ugh.
furniture, it would be this guy. You know, this is like the Victorian filing cabinet, mailbox, workstation combo. This entire thing folds up. It actually has wheels on it, and there's a nail slot on the other side if I were to put these doors in. But I gotta take out this thing. Got a whole bunch of cool secret compartments and stuff like that. It's a perfect thing for a curio room.
Can you remind me who the phrenologist was?
Orson Squire Fowler.
Pufferfish are poisonous.
He wrote that octagon.
I think it's a
yeah, right? And that's why we have y'all.
Pufferfish are poisonous, right?
Well, some of them sure are.
Like if you eat them. If you eat them, they're
Right?
poisonous.
Probably doesn't taste good either.
This is the biggest Jello in the world with the biggest amount of disgusting cockroach bugs. Why does this beaver have blood in his teeth? Is it from him or is it from eating another animal or something?
Maybe he bit the taxidermist.
The taxidermist covered.
Yeah,
Oh.
right. Something like that. All right. This is a super cool room. I really like the warrior case.
It's cool, but also disgusting
It is
at
a
the
little
same
bit,
time.
right? Like all the wings that were used to make the butterfly wing table makes me a little sad.
Whoa! What is? Is this like the main? Is this some kind of weird Egyptian room? This is like some kind of weird Egyptian.
It is, yes, it is the weird Egyptian room. Probably just the regular Egyptian room. But yeah, it's another active art exhibit. Let me take you guys on there. That's on my mark. Now, sadly, I can't take you guys up in here. It's a little too far from the door for the Irvington Fire Department to evacuate you guys safely. And it's typical. Yeah, right. No more stairs. I know we're really looking forward to more stairs. This banister is also super not up to code. So yeah, coming down the stairs, we're going to do vertigo, it's kind of scary. But this does serve an actual function in the house, which is one of the ballroom space. But yeah, it's also like a little piece of Victorian AC, you know?
That's what the room is up there.
Yeah. Right? So the hot air on days like today would rise up to the top of the house.
Is that what a phone used to look like? I remember like they'd had these sticks and
This was
you're
the
like,
iPhone 1.
blah, blah, blah. iPhone?
What was I saying? Oh yeah, just kind of like a pretty AC on the hot air rise. They open up the windows in the direction of the wind, and so it gives the entire house a nice draft. Right? So super smart.
Are you guys still in that disgusting bug room?
Trying to find a
Sphinx.
And we were noticing the phones, and I'm doing this about passing them up. We don't like to talk about them because they're not quite clear as 1872. I like talking about them.
Imagine if there was a 4-leaf clover and it was like giant. That would be so much luck. Or 5, which I once found 5-leaf clover. Dang, I should have kept that. So jelly, not even real, but
Music area over there?
this sure is real, and this sure is pretty. Everything pretty. Wait. Balises? Sorry.
Yeah, right. They're obviously Egyptian revival seats, so that's how they were able to figure out this is an Egyptian revival room. But why is there a sink here, right? This actually goes back to that guy, Orson Squire Fowler, our phrenologist who started this octagon house building trend. In that book, he also writes that everybody should have a room dedicated to one's mind, body, and spirit. And this is that room for the Steiners. So the sink is actually for mixing paintbrushes and washing paints and things like that. The north-facing window is also very consistent light for an artist. That little wall alcove, you think would have accommodated an organ back in the day. Just look up there, there's like 20 feet of space with these pipes. And
Wait, this is an organ?
it's a spinet piano now. Back in the day, it would have been an organ. It's an Egyptian revival spinet piano. The wall also hangs out a little further, so one might practice their dance moves in this room. This is actually called the Egyptian Revival Women's Gymnasium and Music Room. Yeah, right. No, I'm not saying that one every time.
room in there for women.
Yeah, right. But super interesting style of our own. I mentioned a little bit about Egyptian revival. We saw pots outside the greenhouse and things like that. This is a little, a bit of a quicker fading fad than perhaps some of the things like Renaissance revival and things like that. But the opening of the Suez Canal, the Opera Aida, David Roberts' lithographs of Egypt, all these things would incite a lot of interest in Egypt. So this is what Victorians were thinking about. Of course, Egypt viewed through a Victorian lens. Don't try to read our hieroglyphics, they don't mean anything. But it is super interesting, the meaning behind this room and things like that. The frieze over here that actually speaks of the soul's journey into the afterlife. You see them making the wood implements on this side. You see them sail on the Nile here. That is the water motif. You see them arriving in the Egyptian afterlife. And this one there. Things like the lotus over there, symbolic of death and rebirth, but then more botanical motifs. This is actually copied from Messianic Temple in Philadelphia too. So
I'm kind of now wanting to go to the basement because, like,
okay, and that's gonna be our last room.
and then the tour is finished.
Interior. Was that like that?
It was, yes. About 50% of the etched glass is also original. And actually, I like doing this. One more thing to round out this room. 3 of these panels are original. One of them is a little different. If you see, take a look at the this one. It's a little bit different than the ones over here.
And I got a question.
Oh, yeah.
Is this supposed to be different?
It is, yeah. And some people be like, Joseph Lombardi missed the spot, I think. This guy's still cracked. You can actually see where the dome cracked the glass when it put a lot of pressure on it. Things like that. Yeah, right there. With all this extensive dome work. So this is what keeps that in place. But
I got
yes.
2 questions.
Yes.
So after the basement,
Yes.
it's out. It's like
You're
it's
free.
the end.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't want that to ever happen.
Okay.
And also, what is the biggest room?
The biggest room. That's actually a tough question. I think it would probably be
The
that
attic?
room. Well, I think, yeah, the biggest continuous room is probably that room over there. But once
attic.
you factor in these tall ceilings and things like that, it becomes a little more difficult. But it is all antique. Yeah, I don't get like stuff like that. Now it is a little like
This room is just so weird.
This is long behind black wall. And you did have to redo a lot. You actually have to be salvaged to get that long yellow plank because you're not allowed to do it. That's an excellent question. One more thing, just to round it out, because I think it's kind of cute. When Michael Lombardi was redoing this room, this window wasn't here. That's kind of an homage to his dad. He put his dad's initials in here. All these things got Joseph Steiner's initials, right? We think that's pretty cute. This house piece of art, it's only right to sign it. When his dad saw that, he was like, that is not historically accurate. But it's a sweet sentiment.
So Michael didn't grow up here.
Oh, he did, yeah.
He did grow up
Yeah, Joseph Lombardi didn't grow up in the house. He actually did live in Irvington. This house was on his paper route, and that's how we actually knew about it from way back when. Yeah, right. Actually, this room over here is very not serious. It's Chris Lombardi's room. Wow. If you know Matador Records,
Okay, so now we're at the ground. Then we're going to go to the underground. It's right. Oh, darn. It's right here.
oh, that's the ladies' kitchen. All right. Now we are descending into the basement. I'd be a little mindful of that last step. It's just a tiny bit shorter than the other ones. Okay. But this room was a serviceable room. Yeah, right. Look at that suspiciously empty one over there. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well.
Whoa!
Yes, right. We're very slick with it.
Wait, this is a gift shop?
Yes, it is. It might
Wait,
be.
why would they have one in a mansion?
I think the technical term is retail area. Yeah, right. Expect that. Maybe I should have warned you a little bit, right? When I tell people you're gonna go to the Victorian basement, they're having cobwebs and medieval torture devices in the corner. If you come back for Halloween, that might certainly be true. But this is also, back in the day, the servant's kitchen, and you can definitely tell there's some servant's kitchen things in this room. Right? We see the stove over here. This is what they would have cooked the majority of the food on. All that stuff over there. We have a larder over there, a pantry. There's a laundry room right over there. And you guys didn't really get to see this, but the dumbwaiter, where he found that one piece of green and bark and silverware, is actually this guy right here. Yeah, right? So this definitely was a room that was used back in the day. Definitely not for a gift shop. But I also talked about this being an active restoration. You guys saw that suspiciously empty room that we passed on the way here. Yeah, that is definitely the active part of the active restoration. That's a billiards room. Joseph Lombardi is still looking for a billiards table from the 1860s. We know Paul Armour had one. Hello. Right, so if you guys maybe just an octagon. Yeah, right. Let me check. Yeah, right. I might have one lurking somewhere around the place. But
There's a solarium down here?
no. I think the atrium.
Wow.
Solarium, atrium. But this is going to be the last room I take you guys in for the tour. You were lovely to have. Thank you for all the questions. It was a treat to speak with you guys. I'm going to linger a little longer if you have any questions, but thank you for coming to the Octagon as the final picture. Hey! All right. Thank you guys. I'm going to be over here if you guys need me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is like, this should be like the greatest last room. I'm gonna buy like, I want to buy like 5,000 things, but I don't think my mom wants.
What are you getting?
A magnet.
Which one?
For a fridge.
Let me see. Oh, okay. How much are the Christmas ornaments on that wall there? Oh, I think this one.
This one is,
ones there, except sometimes they're all priced
a bit differently.
Yeah. Do you want me to get you guys one? I'm gonna get one.
Anyone, make sure that they're in.
Yeah.
Mama, could we get this puzzle? It looks very majestic.
We have so many puzzles.
True, but like, I mean like, for decoration. Oh,
Our online system has disconnected. If you have cash, that would be preferred in the meantime. I do apologize to you.
Oh yeah.
This is a take it. This is gonna be a
Cash.
yeah. Essentially. Thank you.
There's several.
Derek, can you get me this? I need a notebook.
I need to troubleshoot this a little bit, but I think it should be fine.
Well, then what?
Your phone is going to be full and you won't be able to take any more videos if you keep it going.
I know.